Do readers judge books by their cover? You bet your ass they do. And in this lesson of Naval Craft Secrets, it's me, Keith Hayden, who's here going to give you a crash course in cover design. And we're going to talk about the theory of covers, which I know sounds boring, but it's going to help you understand exactly what your cover needs to do so you can get that bare minimum done and you can move on from this step. There's a lot that I could talk about in cover design, and I eventually plan to do a lesson later on in this course where I really go deep and show you my process, how I create covers. But here we're going to focus on the basics, just to give you something to give a visual representation to your story and get it out there so you can show people and show yourself that you mean business with your novel and that this is a serious thing that they should take seriously, that they can anticipate, and that you can anticipate. Let's start by talking about covers and why they're so important. When I started this lesson, I asked, do people judge books by their cover? And while I wish they didn't, they absolutely do. And guess what? You do it, I do it, we all do it. If a cover looks like shit, you're not going to read the book. If it communicates the wrong tone or the wrong type of story or experience, you probably won't buy it. That's why we want to make sure our covers are on target with all of these 4 factors: genre, tone, audience, and then the bonus factor is kind of that X factor where if it's nice if you can have it, but it's actually not necessary. And I call that just X factor or standing out. I just wrote standing out here. But this lesson is going to assume a couple of things. And I just want to preface this really quick. One, it assumes that you want to do your cover yourself. I highly recommend at this point that you don't pay anybody for a cover. Reason why is your book's not done. And while you may have an initial idea for your story at this time, trust me, over the next weeks, months, hopefully not years, but maybe even years, it's going to change. You're going to add different things. You might even shift the focus or the tone. If you're like my last novel, you might completely even change genres towards the end. So you don't want to lock yourself into an expensive, really nice cover, but by the time you get to the end of the book, you're kind of stuck with that final product, or you have to go back and have whoever you hire redo it. At this point, you want basically a mock-up. You want a good enough image, something that communicates your style and what your story is about. Second thing this lesson assumes is that you are completely fine using AI generated assets. You have no problem using that. If you have some type of ethical quandary with that, then I advise you to turn this video off, and you should probably consider dropping this course, because later on I'm going to show you AI is a big part of my process now, and whether we like it or not, it's here to stay. It's come for us fiction writers, it's come for coders, it's come for artists, it's come for business people, it's come for everybody. And if you're sitting on your hands, or you've got your head in the sand, or you're in denial about AI, or you have a really big problem with it, then I feel you. I understand where you're coming from. I'm not going to go into all of the arguments in this video. That's not what this is for. But this lesson probably isn't for you, because most of the images that I've used are AI generated. I do make my own stuff myself, but this is just my process. If you don't like my process, then go find somebody else's process that you do enjoy. And I think that's it for the disclaimers. With that, let's jump right into the examples, because I've got a ton of them. All right, so I pulled up Canva for first thing to show you that I've been making my own covers for the past, 3 years. I've made hundreds of covers, of flyers, of social media posts, just a ton of different stuff when it comes to visualizing my stories. And in that experience, I've obviously gone through various phases, and I can kind of scroll through here. Here's just my Canva, and yeah, you can just kind of get a glimpse. But I've set aside a couple of examples to show you. You can kind of get a glimpse of what I do and what it might looks like when you decide to do your cover. First thing I want to talk about is genre. And with that, I want to go to, let's go to Sirius and Limnic, Second Evolution. This is my, let me move myself out of the way over here. This is my second, this is my first novel, but this is the second iteration of the cover. Genre is really important because it sets reader expectations. Readers shop by genre. They don't shop by type of story first or characters or plot. It's, I like romance, so I'm going to go into the romance section. I like military history, so I'm going to go into the military history. So they think category first and then they zoom down into particular stories and they start looking at covers from there. The first job of your cover at a glance is by the entire, let's say, vibe of the cover. The reader can easily discern the genre of the, or at least the ballpark genre, right? And you can kind of see, you can communicate this in several ways. One, you can communicate this with, like I do in Sirius and Limnic, we see kind of the colors, a dark sky, we've got kind of a gloomy type of setting. You can get the sense, and we've got the title Second Evolution. You can get the sense that, okay, maybe this is kind of a sci-fi ish. We've got one of the characters here with a rifle, with a military rifle. Okay, we're getting military and maybe sci-fi vibes. So you can see I do this with a combination of one, character choice, two, colors, three, font. Font is another thing that I go to, because fonts can really kind of, certain fonts, even if you don't know anything about typography, and I'm not going to get into typography in this video, but even if you don't know anything about it, you know when certain fonts kind of have a feel, kind of have a vibe. That's what you're going for. So I advise you to kind of cycle through different fonts. I'm using Canva. I have the paid version of Canva. Canva has a free version that is still very versatile. It gives you a lot of stuff to play with. Play with this for a while and see which one just feels right when it comes to the genre that you're trying to communicate. Next, we're going to talk about tone. Tone is your story serious? Is it kind of goofy and silly? Is it more of a contemplative piece where it's that kind of traditional literary type? We want to try and communicate this on the cover as possible, as much as possible. And here I'm pulling up Shadow Band. This is a novella that I wrote, even though it says novel, it's a novella. This is a novella that I wrote very quickly a couple of years ago, and it's a very simple cover. We've just got this image of this guy, and it clearly indicates, like, okay, this is a sci-fi story, right? He's like digitized here. He's a regular guy over here. And we're doing this thing with the font here. That's really the only thing I played with. I made this cover in like an hour, probably. But it just shows you how a simple idea can communicate tone. Look at the dark colors. Look at the, and I'm not going to get into color theory here, but once again, go for that vibe. If you're doing romance, think of something lighter and more playful. If you're doing kind of a darker type of story, if it's certain type of fantasy, then go for maybe darker type of colors, things like that. And that's it with tone. Tone is just what is the reader in for as far as that emotional experience. That's what we want to get into. Genre is kind of the what, and kind of an objective. Okay, I pick a genre, but now we're getting into, okay, what am I going to feel? What am I expecting to, what emotions is this story going to bring out in me? Next is audience. You want to signal who this story is for, if you can, right? And not every cover, like, I don't think this shadow band, maybe it does a little bit, because maybe all we have is this kind of the age of the guy, right? But I have another example of one of my favorite covers that I've done, but certainly a more advanced type of cover. This is the cover for another novella that I wrote last year called Sinkhole. This, you can see we've got a much more colorful presentation. We've got the lead character, kind of a younger female here, and then we've got these characters surrounding her. And this genre, this audience was really going for a more female-centric audience with the lead character here, more colors, also leaning more female-centric. And that this is kind of the strategy here. These are kind of different things you can use. The font speaks to more of the genre that I was going for. So you can use these things in balance and in different, you can turn the dials and tweak the dials however to your liking. Maybe you adjust your images. Maybe it's your font that you adjust. Maybe it's your colors. You just want to use these in different type of settings to communicate different things. But this is what I was going for this cover. I love this cover. I just it's one of my favorites. That's why I had to bring it up. But it's also a good example of communicating for a specific audience. This was like my attempt to go for that. It's also a good example of that X factor kind of standing out because unlike my other covers, which take on a more like you can see like more realistic, like you saw with Sirius and Limnic, we've got more realistic type of characters here. Same with Shadow Band, not quite uh, realistic, but here in Sinkhole, we've got more of a comic book type aesthetic, that type of vibe. That's exactly what I was going for. To where this is it's a little bit weird because we can tell we've got her hand here that's glowing, so maybe we've got some fantasy elements in here. But it says military game tech fiction, which sounds sci-fi-ish, even if you don't know what that means. So all of this is working to make this cover kind of pop. It wants to jump off, and you want every cover to do this, but every cover kind of does it in different ways. Sometimes they do it with font, sometimes they do it with images, and you have to decide what's going to work for you. But that fourth X factor. So those are the four things. That's really the only things that you need for a basic cover. Now I'm going to show you the cover that I have for my latest novel, the current novel that I'm working on, Sirius and Limnic, Escape from Okinawa. This is a V1 cover. This was like a bare bones cover, but just to show you that this is all you need. The image is obviously a tropical type setting. We've got a beach. That makes sense because it's called Escape from Okinawa. Okinawa's an island. And then we've got this alien craft here, which kind of hints at sci-fi-ish, maybe alien invasion, that type of thing. The font is a military font. We've got Black Ops 1 here, not just in the name. Even if you don't know the name, you can associate this font with just military, even if you're not familiar with military, you never served in the military, doesn't matter. You can probably see this font and think, okay, it feels military. And then this font is kind of a plain type font that I used to use. I don't really use this font anymore, but it could mean a lot of different things. And then we've got the genre down here, and then we've got the lone character down here, which you can assume is probably the title character, which you'd be correct. And then we've got some junk on the sea here, which denotes war. Something's happened. Why are these boats crashed? What's this kind of debris here? And so we get kind of a mystery and intrigue. That's all we need. No need to get fancy. No need to make this difficult or make this take a long time, especially with an ebook cover. And honestly, the ebook cover is the best place to start because it's immediately shareable. You don't have to worry about dimensions or anything like that. Just pick a picture, blow it up, and put your title of your story. Put your name. Don't forget to put your name. I've done that. I've made that mistake before. And then put your genre, whatever genre you're going for. All these are changeable. That's the thing. This is not a one-time decision with your cover. Trust me, you are going to make changes. But this is all you want is a great place to start and something that you can put online and put with your story descriptions or all the other stuff that you've done up to this point, and so that people understand that this is the story that you're going for. I think that's all I had to say about cover design at this point. Like I said, I plan on doing a deeper dive and actual walkthrough of showing you how I create a cover, but right now I think it's a bit overkill. I don't think you need to worry about it. Just experiment. If you've never done graphics or covers before, trust me, it's not that difficult. And that's why I pulled up Canva here. Canva, all you have to do is go into, I just picked up, I'll actually start from scratch here. Create new design, go to, you can just type in book cover. And you're going to start a brand new book cover. Now, if you have no idea with what you want to start with, of course, name your book cover. Let's say My Story. If you have no idea what you want to start with, that's totally fine, because there are so many templates that you can start out with, and they're all reasonable. You know, none of them are like that great or anything. You know, I'd take whatever I picked and definitely customize it, but they're all competent covers. Like, let me see. Let's just pick this, The Last Ember. And so here you already have a layout, you already have a nice font design, an idea. This is what I like about using Canva templates as well. They kind of give me built-in ideas for, okay, that's kind of a cool trick that they did with this element. I like this picture. Maybe I would change the font a little bit. This kind of teaser message, in a world of ashes, hope is the final flame. Sounds kind of fantasy-ish to me, but maybe I want to change that up. I'll put my name at the top, and I'm done. That's your cover. You know, it doesn't have to be hard. You just want something that shows where your story is going and what the reader can expect. It's all about expectations when it comes to marketing your book and hopefully paying off those expectations in between the pages once your book is actually finished. I hope this was a helpful lesson. I thought it was going to be longer, but really I don't have much more to say about this. But experiment with your covers. If you've never done graphics before, like I said, don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You will go back and change it, but get something out there to make your story visually appealing. That's going to do it for this lesson. In the next lesson, I think I'm talking book website. So that'll be a fun one. I'll see you there.